Hello and welcome to the January 31st, 2021 edition of the Bobby Hesley Show. This is your man, your friend, your host, Bobby Hesley, coming to you live from Hesley Studios. How's everybody doing this Sunday? Hope you guys had a great week. I sure did. Had a very, very productive week. I have been focusing really, really hard on all those things in my life that God has blessed me to still have control over in spite of the madness and craziness of these times that we're living in. So I'm going to do a video today that's pretty polarizing, okay? It's going to be pretty polarizing. I'm down about 60 followers from this time last week. Had a lot of people unfollow your man, Bobby Hesley, and I personally believe that that was their loss. I believe that their life is that much poorer without me in it, but that's their decision. That's their choice. I think they made a big mistake, and I think they ought to come back home to daddy. But that's just my opinion. Now, I've always been a really polarizing guy. There's never been a whole lot of middle ground with Bobby Hesley. I've always either had like a lot of enemies and a lot of admirers. I don't have a whole lot of people that are in between with me. I seem to piss off a lot of people, and I seem to gladden the hearts of a lot of people. But I don't really get neutral reactions out of people. I never have. I was even polarizing as a kid when I was in middle school. The questions I used to ask, a lot of times I'd raise my hand, and there'd be these girls up in the front that every time they raised my hand, because they knew I was going to ask a question that would either like stump the teacher or be kind of an unpopular way to think about something. I remember when I would raise my hand, all I would hear is, people smacking their lips. What's Bobby got to say now? What's he got to ask now? I've always been like that, guys. And I'm always going to be like that. Okay. And the fact is, last week, thank you, Carol. I think you're wonderful too. But the fact is, last week, guys, I really got into it with some of my followers. I ticked off a lot of people. And guys, that's not my intention. I love you guys. I consider you guys friends and family. I really do. Even though I've never met a lot of you, I love you guys. And I do what I do when it comes to creating this content, putting information out there, putting my spin on things out there. I do it out of love for my fellow man. I like to pass on the fruits of my study, my research, and my contemplation. Guys, do you realize I haven't even monetized my channel yet? I haven't monetized, guys. I don't sell a single thing yet. Right? I built up 20,000 followers in like the last 6 months. I have not flipped on the monetization switch yet. And there's a reason I haven't done that yet. I'm not in a rush to. I'm doing pretty well with my business. I really am. I don't need to monetize a channel. I don't need to get paid. I don't need to make a living given my opinion on things. I don't. And I'm not knocking people who do. There's lots of content creators out there, full-time content creators, that's how they pay the bills. That's how they eat. That's how they feed their kids. And I have mad respect for people that do that. Some people have to monetize. I don't. Okay? I don't. I'm not in a position where I have to. I will one day. I'm not going to do this for free forever because I do have a lot of experiences and ideas that I think are too good to give away for free. So one of these days I will monetize. I don't know when, but I will. But the fact is, I want to show you guys where it all started last week. And again, I wasn't trying to troll anybody. I was just joking, to be honest with you. And this is where it all started last week. So on my wall, this is a post that I made last Saturday. Okay. Now, just to give you some context, you had a lot of people that were swearing off Facebook. They were vowing to leave Facebook. They're like, I'm done with Facebook. I'm done with Zuck. And I'm out of here. Okay. I'm out of here. And then all of a sudden, for the next few days, all I could hear about were these same people who had sworn off Zuck, who are boycotting Facebook, who announced them leaving the platform. All I would see is posts from them saying, hey, guys, were you guys logged out of Facebook? Did your Facebook session expire? Now, for all the people that supposedly cared, acted like they were done with big tech, what difference did it make? And all I did was made a humorous post about that. And I said, and I quote, I'm seeing an awful lot of anti-big tech, quote, Facebook deserters complaining about being logged out last night. What difference does it make? I thought y'all were done with Zuck. Man, oh man. Boy, did the fury of 10,000 suns come down on my head when I said that. And guys, I kid you not. I lost 60 followers just like that. And again, I don't do this for the followers, guys. I don't have a monetized channel. This doesn't pay my bills at all. This is volunteer work that I don't make any money on. So it's not like it hurt me. It's not like I lost sponsors. It's not like it hit my pocketbook or anything like that. But I lost some followers. And some of these were some pretty devoted followers. These are people that, I had consoled through all the trauma and drama that we went through since November 3rd. A lot of these are people that look to me for hope and inspiration. And guys, in my mind, when you're friends and family with people, and I respect that, Jessica. I actually respect that. This is not a knock on you. And I would say that most of what I'm going to talk about in this video, Jessica, probably doesn't even apply to you. Okay. This is honestly for the people who try to have it both ways. Okay. So God bless you for that. I applaud your efforts. And I think you're going to get a lot of value out of what I share in this video, Jessica. So keep watching. And you're right, Jim. It does narrow down the wheat from the chaff. It really does when you call out hypocrisy and inconsistency. But the fact is, when you're friends and family with somebody, which is what I consider you guys, you joke around with each other. You bust each other's chops. You make fun of each other sometimes. You joke around with each other. Isn't that what friends and family do? Do you seriously mean to tell me that you've had people in your life who you love and care about that you never made fun of, that you never poked fun at, that you never joked around with, hoping that they would one-up you and hit you back with something even more funny about yourself? Like me and my best friend, Mark, I'm telling you, and Mark, if you're watching this, you know what I'm talking about. We have given each other 6-pack abs with how we've busted on each other and made fun of each other over the course of our 21-year friendship. We've had our hardest, most violently painful laughs when we were just making fun of each other. And when me and Mark make fun of each other, we really, really make fun of each other because nobody really knows us as well as we know each other. Like we're best friends. Okay. So we know all of each other's flaws. We know all of each other's secrets. We know all of each other's little insecurities and quirks. And when nobody else is looking, we troll each other harder on those things than anybody else we know of. And that's when we laugh the hardest. There's been times where Mark's wife would overhear me and him busting each other's chops, and she would say, Mark, like very few women could stay friends with each other if they joked around with each other the way me and Mark have joked around with each other over the last couple decades. And Mark, you know what I'm talking about. Even Mark's kids have cringed at times with how we make fun of each other. But that's because we're best friends and brothers, man. And the closer you are to people, the more of a right you have to joke around with them and bust their chops compared to strangers that you don't have a connection with. That actually brings you closer. I don't know. Maybe that's a guy thing. Maybe it's different with women. I don't know. But I think very few female relationships would survive if they joked around with each other the way me and Mark joke around with each other. In fact, I would say that's one of the ingredients to our success is how we troll each other. And guys, I promise you, that's all that was behind that post that I did last week. I wasn't trying to disrespect my followers. I wasn't trying to be insensitive. I was just calling out what I felt was some humorous hypocrisy among the anti-big tech crowd. Because if you're done with Facebook, be done with Facebook. Why does it matter if you got logged out? Why does it matter if your session got logged out? If you went on Facebook announcing that you're done with it, that should have been the last we heard of you, at least on Facebook. But it's kind of like people who, act like they're wanting to boycott. That'd be like Rosa Parks, boycotting the bus system because blacks can't sit in the front. And that would be her complaining about the kind of tires that the buses are using. Like, guys, can you believe the kind of tires they used on the DOT bus this week? Those are ugly tires, aren't they? It's like, Rosa, why does it matter? I thought you're done with the bus system. I thought you're boycotting. Like, why does it matter? I'm just giving an example, guys. That's just an example. And that's all I was doing, guys. I promise you that's all I was doing. And what's funny is that a lot of the big tech people, and this is nothing new, guys, a lot of the anti-big tech people that follow me, they've been on my case for months. They have. A lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them were very judgmental towards me. almost borderline bullyish. Like I was even given ultimatums by certain followers I had. I've literally tell people, Bobby, if you don't get on Parler, I'm going to unfollow you. I've had people say that in my comments. They're like, Bobby, you're missing out on revenue you could be making. And if you don't switch over to Parler, I'm going to stop following you because I'm going to Parler. But you know what the ironic thing is, guys? They were saying this to me on my Facebook page. So if you're so done with Zuck, why are you using Zuck's platform to tell me to get on somebody else's platform? Right? I'm just keeping people consistent, guys. That's all I'm trying to do. And here's what I truly believe, guys. I believe that a lot of the triggers and meltdowns that happened on my wall last week with some of my followers who, again, whose lives are that much more deficient without me in it. I truly believe that. A lot of you watch me because you know I'm right about a lot of the stuff I'm talking about. A lot of you follow me because you get a lot of value and a lot of what I say resonates with you. And that's why you keep tuning in. And even though I might say things sometimes that you don't like or that you don't agree with, but I can't please everybody. I have people that tell me my videos are too long. I have people that tell me my videos aren't long enough. I have people that tell me that I talk too much about Catholicism. I have people who tell me that I don't talk enough about my Catholicism. I have people who tell me that, I was too much of a Trump groupie. I have other people that criticize me for when I criticize Trump about other things, like signing that stupid stimulus porculus bill. I got a lot of flack on that one. Even as much as I love Trump, I got a lot of flack from fellow Trump lovers that thought I went too far. But again, I will always be true to you. I will always be transparent about how I feel. And part of that transparency, guys, part of that is my sense of humor. It really is. So I believe that a lot of why that meltdown happened last week is because I believe it exposes how addicted we all truly are to big tech. And that's the aim of this video. That's the aim of this podcast today. My hope is that after watching/listening to this podcast, that you will walk away from it and take a true and honest and transparent inventory with yourself about how much of a role big tech actually plays in your life. And if you have kids, and the lives of your kids. As a matter of fact, that's an even more important reflection for you to do if you have kids whose lives are very wrapped up in big tech. So the topic of boycotting, there's definitely two very convincing schools of thought. Should we boycott? Should we not boycott? There's arguments that can be made in favor of boycotting that are very persuasive. There's also arguments that are made against boycotting that I believe are also very persuasive. I always fall somewhere in the middle, guys, on a lot of these polarizing topics that aren't truly black or white. Like there's certain topics where you cannot be in the middle of. You're either for Christ or against him, right? Gray areas do not exist when it comes to abortion, right? All these moral issues that you hear me talk about a lot, there are no gray areas in those issues, okay? You can't be in the middle on those issues, right? But there are other issues where there's room for debate. There's other issues where there's room for dialogue and diversity of opinion. When it comes to abortion, when it comes to the sanctity of all human life, there is no room for dialogue. There is no room for debate. You either believe that all life is sacred from womb to tomb, or you don't, period. There's no in between. But whether or not to participate in big tech, I don't believe is on the same moral playing field as those other issues that are black and white. So is boycott effective? Well, that depends on what your definition of boycotting is. I believe that if you're one of these people who believe in boycotting, I believe that in order to do it effectively, that it requires integrity, it requires consistency, but most importantly, it requires sacrifice. That's what true boycotting requires. Integrity, consistency, but most importantly, sacrifice. I want you to think back of all the civil rights icons who truly boycotted. Think of Rosa Parks. Think of Dr. King. Think of the sit-ins that they used to do at segregated diners, right? Think of how they would refuse to sit on the back of the bus. And as a matter of fact, they completely ditched the bus system. They ditched public transport. You know what Dr. King did? He whipped up hundreds of carpools. The blacks who were victims of Jim Crow racism, the Jim Crow racism of the Democrat Party that's still alive and well today, just in a different form. They said, you know what? We're going to completely check out of the public transit system. We're not going to get on a single other bus. We're going to hit them in their pocketbooks. So what did they do? They banded together and they practiced solidarity with each other, and they drove each other to work. They drove each other to the grocery store. They drove their kids to school, each other's kids to school. They were done with buses. They brought the bus system down to its knees until it gave them the civil rights they deserve to sit wherever the heck they want to sit on the bus, whether it's the front, middle, or back. That's what boycotting is, folks. They didn't go half measure. They didn't say, well, I'm only going to boycott the bus system Monday, Wednesday, Friday. They didn't have one foot in the door and one foot out the door. They were completely done with boycotting with the bus system. Now, there are many people who truly did boycott Facebook, and I applaud those people. I really do. There are some people that are truly done with Facebook. They haven't logged on again, and they have my congrats. They truly, really do. But the fact is, if you want to go all out, if you truly want to stick it to big tech, I don't believe canceling Zuck, and if that's all you do is cancel Zuck, I don't believe it's a true boycott. Because again, that would be like Rosa Parks saying, I'm only going to get on the bus Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday and Sunday, I'm going to get on the bus. I'm going to be a part-time, halfway boycotter. The reason why people log off Facebook and YouTube and all these other platforms is because they truly are, in their minds, they truly feel like they're sticking it to big tech and they want to be done with big tech. But are they truly, really done with big tech? Have they truly, really unplugged from the matrix, from the grid of big tech? That's what I want to explore in this video. Because what you don't want to be like are these climate change hypocrites like Leonardo DiCaprio and George Clooney and Barack Obama and Al Gore and Greta Thunberg, all these climate change hypocrites that fly around in their private jets, right? That have fleets of cars, that live in these big mansions that require a lot of heat and cold and energy to regulate the temperature of, the climate of. Don't be like those climate change hypocrites that jump on private jets around the world giving speeches about leaving our carbon footprint everywhere, about how we shouldn't do that. Don't be like these anti-Second Amendment, these anti-gun rights hypocrites that are surrounded by bodyguards with guns we're not even able to legally possess, like semi-automatics and automatics, right? How many people, how many of these leftist politicians have you seen up on stage railing against gun rights, given their gun control speeches while surrounded by armed bodyguards and security guards? Don't be like that. If you're going to be done with big tech, you need to be an anti-big tech saint and martyr. And I'm going to show you how to do that. Because not only does it require integrity, consistency, and sacrifice to truly stick it to big tech and boycott them, but more important than all three of those, it also requires humility. It requires humility. And one of the things that has always turned me off about a lot of Christian boycotters, a lot of the people on my side on the right who like to boycott things, is the sense of moral superiority that they have and this judgmental spirit that they have where they look down on others who don't follow them in their boycott. In other words, they look down on you because you're still using Facebook or YouTube or Amazon or Netflix. They judge you. They think they're better than you because they stopped using certain platforms that you're still using, and they kind of look down on you. And they kind of see you as a traitor. Now, again, if it doesn't apply, let it fly, right? If I'm not talking about you, and if that's not how you are, then no harm, no foul. But there's quite a few people that are like that. And to take a quick little detour, I want to show you guys a video that was actually made back in 2015 that I think humorously goes into this. How many of you know people who announced that they were leaving Facebook? And again, this is having a sense of humor, guys, with people that you love and that you're close to. If you don't have a sense of humor, then my channel's probably not for you. But until you can learn to laugh at yourself, until you can learn to laugh at things, and that doesn't mean you're not taking it seriously if you laugh at it once in a while, but unless you can look at it with a sense of humor, you're going to lose your mind and you're going to be pretty bitter and pissed off and unhappy. But here's what I love about college humor. It's a pretty popular channel. This was made back in 2015, and I think this makes a really good point of everything I'm trying to say. Check this out, guys.
Attention! Attention, everyone! I have an announcement to make. I am leaving this party. This may come as shocking to some of you. How could I, a popular young gentleman, not remain at the biggest party in town? I suppose you might say I'm just...
If you missed that, the title of this video, of this parody, is called If People Left Parties Like They Leave Facebook. Watch.
a little different from the rest of you. You might even say I'm a little special. You see, I do not like your conversations. The things you share are sensationalist at best and insipid at worst. In fact, I believe you have wasted so much of my time that it borders on unhealthy. Yes, I will be a better person when I finally leave this place. By which I mean better than my former self. But also better than all of you. Furthermore, I take issue with the people here. Some of you I like well enough, but many of you are passing acquaintances whom I do not care for. Those of you who are my true friends, and you know who you are, you can still reach me at the better party across the street. Everyone there is very witty, and there are tons of celebrities, not just George Takei. Very good. Now, I am also very concerned with the privacy of this party. These cameras are recording everything I say and do. And it seems that any mouth-breathing troglodyte can see me and ask to be my friend. Now, I know this has been the case since the party began, but I think it's important to bring it up now, as I'm leaving, to prove that I care more about these issues than you do. Now, some of you may ask, why would you not just quietly leave, like a normal person, instead of criticizing this party you're all clearly enjoying? No, it's because I know that I am a dear, dear friend to you. I don't want you to think that I am ignoring you or hiding from you. I don't want you to think me rude, which is why I am announcing now that I am departing this intellectual wasteland and all the glassy-eyed animals who occupy it. Already my soul feels lighter thinking about all the time I can devote to myself instead of this rabble of narcissists. Farewell, my friends and my casual acquaintances. Goodbye, people I kind of knew from high school. If you ever share my epiphany in the future, you may join me. Join me on the enlightened plain outside. Farewell. Good news, everyone.
Guys, did you notice how nobody was paying attention to him the whole time? That's what was funny about it. Everybody was just carrying on their conversation. But isn't that kind of like the moral superiority? Let's just be honest, guys. A lot of the people who announced they're leaving Facebook, and this has gone on long before the 2020 elections. That video was made back in 2015 on College Humor, which means that it had been a thing years before then. That was 6 years ago they were making fun of that. So this is nothing new. But it's like I said, guys, if you want to be a truly effective boycotter, have humility about it, right? Don't look down on other people who don't have the same conviction as you. Don't parade around your moral superiority towards those who aren't just going to rush into it and follow you into it, okay? So, on the practical side of things, before I wrap up, because the businessman in me, the entrepreneur in me, is a solutions-oriented guy. So how do we practice what we preach? What does it look like to truly boycott big tech? What does it look like to stick it to big tech? Is it enough to just check out on Zuck? Is it enough to just not go on Twitter anymore? If you truly want to boycott big tech, this is what I truly believe you have to do to have some consistency, integrity, humility, and sacrifice. Number one, you need to back up all of your photos, videos, and posts that you've ever posted on Facebook, Instagram, and all your other social media platforms, and make sure that you put them on a thumb drive. Because if you're truly going to check out a big tech, you have to be willing to catalog and store all those memories that you've built up over the years somewhere. Because again, if Zuck is unworthy of you, you got to make him unworthy of all your memories and all your pictures. And that reason right there is why a lot of people can't let go of Facebook. As much as they hate it, as much as they hate the censorship and the fact checking and the political correctness and all the stuff, censorship, all the commie stuff we've been seeing lately, as much as people hate that, They kind of feel like they can't get away from Facebook just for that one reason alone. And that's where the sacrifice comes in. Truly effective boycotters are willing to make the sacrifice of doing without that which they are standing against. Number 2, once you've done this, you must delete your Facebook account after making the public announcement and saying a final goodbye that you're planning to do so. Okay. And again, some of you have done that, and I praise you for that. Truly stick it to big tech. That's another step. Number 3. Now, this is where the sacrifice truly comes in. This is where you want to truly examine your motives and your honesty and your integrity about how much you really do want to stick it to big tech. Number 3, get ready. I hope you're sitting down for this. You must also get rid of every smart device that you have. Every smart device. Every smartphone that you have. Every iPad that you have. Get rid of these. Seriously, get rid of them. You are not boycotting big tech if you still own or use these in any way or fashion. You also have to get rid of any and all smart TVs that you have. Now, what does any of that have to do with Zuck or Facebook or YouTube? It has everything to do with it. You know why? Because all of these devices is why big tech has a monopoly that I think is going to take a very, very long time to break up. Because here's what the downfall of Parler was that people didn't think about. They all left Facebook. They left YouTube. They went over to Parler. And what happened? Amazon, who you see right above me here, see this A right here? Bezos yanked the platform out from underneath Parler. AWS, Amazon Web Services. This showed that part of the swamp is Amazon. They are. They're part of the big tech oligarchy, the technocracy. They are. And they are why Parler went down. Here's the issue, guys. If you have any smart devices, the reason why you're not being consistent or making the true sacrifice that a boycotter should make is that no matter how good of a platform somebody develops, no matter how much free speech they allow, no matter how opposed to censorship they are, they could be the best in the world when it comes to freedom and all those things. But at the end of the day, folks, unless they're their own website, their own standalone website where they're willing to pay the tens of thousands of dollars, even millions of dollars it would cost to be able to host the servers for all the traffic that it would take to not crash their individual standalone website that they have total control and autonomy over, they have to rely on the Apple App Store, the iOS App Store, and the Google Store if they're on Android. That's why Parler went down. Because Amazon, in conjunction with Apple and Google, yanked the platform out from underneath Parler. What good is your alternative platform if you can't host it on any of the smart devices? That means that most of your followers, most of your subscribers, most of your users on your alternative platform would have to be willing to go to your website, let's just call it parler.com, and they would have to access the mobile version of your website. Do you have the hundreds of millions of dollars that it would take to host such a website? This is why I made a video months ago about Trump starting the Trump News Network. Somebody like Trump could come along because he's got the money and the clout, and he could build an alternative platform. But here's the problem. Even if Trump were able to do that, what's he going to do if the Apple iOS store and the Google store doesn't allow his app on their phones? Millions of people rely on Androids and Apple phones that have those app stores. They hold the power. And I think it's going to take a very long time. Think of how long it took Apple to become the conglomerate they became. Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak and Bill Gates, all those guys were working nonstop since the 1970s to turn Apple and Microsoft into what it is today. And when I say what it is today, what I really mean is what it's been since 2007. Pretty much from the 1970s to 2007, nonstop Steve Jobs and Bill Gates dedicated themselves to doing everything that they could to build those companies to the point where we could even have something like a primitive iPod. Think of how primitive the first iPhone was when it first came out. And yet that was a big deal. It took them decades, guys. You really think we can come up with an alternative with a competitor to that overnight? I think if enough of us gel together, we probably could. But it's going to take a lot of money, guys. It's going to take billions with a B. It's going to take billions of dollars. Now, to the defense of those who boycott big tech, they believe that they can vote with their dollars and take all that money elsewhere. But again, we have to find somebody who's willing to develop a company like Apple that can host its own app store that does not rely on Amazon Web Services, which is what was the end, which was what was the demise of Parler, and something like AWS, Google Store, and the App Store. Okay. Number 4, you must go back to using old school flip phones because, again, as long as you're using one of these smartphones, you're not truly boycotting big tech. You got to go back to those old flip phones that have the snake game. You remember the snake where he eats the little pellet and gets longer and longer and longer every time he eats a pellet? You got to go back to flip phones. No more smartphones for you. Number 5, you must cancel. Again, here's where that sacrifice comes in if you truly want to boycott. Number 5. And some of you are going to implement this, and I praise you for that. I really do, because maybe I'm getting you to think about some things that you didn't consider about the price tag that it really truly does take to boycott big tech. Number 5, you must cancel your high-speed internet because big tech would not be able to operate without it, which means Comcast, Wow, AT&T, or whoever else you use for your high-speed internet is also fueling and promoting big tech. And that is a fact, guys. There is no way that Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Prime, all these Disney Plus, all these big tech platforms that we stream on, there's no way that it would work on dial-up. There's no way that you could use a landline phone that goes. You remember the old dial-up noise? I'm really aging myself. But there is no way that big tech could exist without the fiber optic cables, without the millions of miles of fiber optic cable lines that Comcast and Cox Communications and all these internet big dogs have paved the way for. So if you still have high-speed internet, you are still participating in big tech. You are. You're spending $100 a month, $120 a month, $59 a month. Whatever your high-speed internet plan is, that's how much money you're contributing to big tech, even if you're done with Zuck. Even if you were to cancel Zuck and never log on to Facebook again, even if you were to get rid of your smartphone, if you still have high-speed internet, you are still funding and subsidizing big tech. You're not fully boycotting. You're being Rosa Parks, getting on the bus Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and all the other days of the week she's going to boycott. You're halfway in. I'm keeping you honest here. Number 6, you must cancel all of your streaming services, Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, Disney Plus. They are all part of the big tech monopoly. Now, I want some of you to be really honest. I want you to be transparent with your man, Bobby Hesley. I was outraged. Over Cuties when Netflix did their Cuties thing. Orange is the New Black. I've never been into that. It's a sick show, in my opinion. But I never canceled Netflix, guys. Does that mean that I'm into child pornography? No, it doesn't. Don't go there. It just means that I tuned out of that show. I want some of you to be honest, just like I was. How many of you posted against Cuties but didn't cancel your Netflix? Or how many of you canceled your Netflix after Cuties, but then after a few weeks went by, maybe a few months, you thought, you know what, man, Cobra Kai, everybody's talking about Cobra Kai right now and this chess player chick right now. You know what? Let me renew Netflix. How many of you did that? Be honest, guys. Come clean with your man, Bobby Hesley. Come on. Some of you did. Number 7, you must cancel all of your cable subscriptions and stop watching cable news. You must be willing to go back to paper news subscriptions that are delivered to you by the door in the mail every day. Since you've given up big tech, you no longer have internet access or smart devices, so you can't watch Newsmax, you can't watch OAN, or your favorite conservative YouTubers like your man Bobby Hesley. But it's okay because the Epoch Times delivers newspaper by the mail. So you have to be willing to reset your life about 30 to 40 years back. You got to start acting like it's the year 1990 again. If you truly want to stick it to big tech and be honest and consistent and truly sacrifice to boycott, this is what you have to do. And again, some of you have done that, and I praise you for that. For those of you that haven't done that, I'm showing you what it takes to do that. Number 8, you must also go back to using CDs, cassettes, and vinyl records. right? Because you don't have these anymore, because you no longer have YouTube, because you no longer have Apple Music. You got to go back to using vinyl records and CDs and cassette players. If you can find one, you're going to have to go on eBay. You're going to have to buy used CDs players, used cassette players, used vinyl record players. Those are actually starting to come back into style. You could be old school. Buy Thriller in its original form. Get a Thriller record like people did back in the 80s. Put Mike back on top in his true original form in the vinyl record. Number 9. Same with video games. You must go back to playing Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, NES, and TurboGrafx 16. Boy, am I really aging myself. No more online gaming. No more World of Warcraft. No more Call of Duty. Get rid of your video game headsets. No more Steam if you're a PC gamer. Why? Because those are all connected to the big tech grid that you must boycott if your principles convict you in doing so. Number 10, since you no longer have internet, which again, big tech would not be able to exist without, you must go back to writing people letters in order to communicate with them, since you can no longer send texts or emails. Okay? Got to go back. You got to buy books of forever stamps. Okay? I just bought a book of forever stamps yesterday. I bought 5 books of forever stamps. I love those. That means, stamps are up to 55 cents a piece now. If you buy a book of forever stamps, you're locked in at that price. And if stamps go up to $1 a stamp or 75 cents a stamp, you're still locked in at whatever price it was when you bought the forever stamp. So you have to do that. Number 11, if you want to express your views and opinions, you must be willing to publish them in brick and mortar publications, if you can find one that still do that. You must also be willing to be a corner street preacher, since you no longer live the big tech lifestyle. Remember, Parler, Gab, MeWe, all of those alternative platforms, Rumble, those are all out the window because they are fueled by high-speed internet, Cox, Comcast, Xfinity, right? All these big conglomerates, they're all part of big tech, guys. They all fund big tech. They're all friends with each other. They all enrich each other. They all do those things with each other. And again, Google Store, the Apple App Store, they would not be able to work without the big tech of high-speed internet. So no more, you can't do that anymore. You got to be willing to publish your views old school. Number 12, and I should have put this earlier, but when you get married, when you have babies, graduations, job promotions, etc., you must be willing to invest in a camera, not a cell phone camera, because again, those need high-speed internet, which is part of big tech. You have to invest in a camera and then get all the photos developed. If you can still find photo developers, then you'll need to make multiple copies for each friend or family member that you want to send those to. And then you'll have to put them in an envelope and mail them to them. Again, true and authentic boycotting requires sacrifice. If you want to go off the grid, if you want to purge your life of big tech, that's what you have to be willing to do. Number 13, you must be willing to call in your food orders and restaurant reservations. Since you can no longer book them online, and since you no longer have internet or smart devices, which are all part of the big tech monopoly. Number 13, you must be willing to only go to public libraries to do your research. Okay? Now that's actually probably going to put you back a couple millennia. You'll have to be like one of those people that lived in the age of the Alexandrian library. You guys remember the Library of Alexandria? Pilgrims would travel from thousands of miles across the world. They would risk life and limb to be able to go to the Alexandrian library before it was burned down by the barbarians. Why? Because in the Alexandrian library, it had collections of hundreds, thousands of scrolls and works, classical works, that they were the only place you could find those. And even once you got to the Alexandrian library, all you could do was window shop. You could look, but don't touch. And a lot of people were so dedicated to study and learning that they would look at the scrolls and they would memorize. They would bring scrolls of their own so they could write down and transcribe the important things that they wanted to get from those scrolls. They couldn't rent them out. They couldn't take them home. It was the Alexandrian library. There were no printing presses to make copies. There was no technology like we have. The printing press didn't come out till the 1500s with Gutenberg, a Catholic inventor. They were still centuries and millennia away from that. Because again, if you want to boycott big tech, you got to get rid of these. So gone are the days where you could do research at your fingertips. DuckDuckGo requires high-speed internet, which is part of big tech. So even if you want to boycott Google, you're still not quite boycotting big tech if you're using DuckDuckGo because it's powered by high-speed internet. Even if you use dial-up internet, those phone companies who give you the landline to use high-speed or to use dial-up internet, guess what? They're big tech. Is AT&T not big tech? Right? So do you really want to put yourself in a position where you can't do research at your fingertips? I like it. I can't stand big tech, but I'm not willing to give up the ability to do research anywhere I'm at any time about anything. I'm just not willing to give that up. I'm not. Number 14, you must go back to physical libraries in order to rent books. Since Amazon, which started off as a bookstore, mind you, people forget about that. Amazon started off as an online used bookstore. It did. Since Amazon is arguably the largest big tech of them all, and since you no longer have access to internet in order to order online books from alternative websites, you must be willing to go to Barnes & Noble and old used bookstores in order to get the latest copies of books that you want to read. Again, Amazon is big tech. They took down Parler, right? So you can't use Kindle anymore. You can't use ebooks anymore. You can't read books on Kindle anymore because Amazon owns Kindle, which is part of big tech. Amazon owns Audible, the Audible book service, which again is part of big tech. So those are 14 practical ways that if you truly want to boycott big tech, if you really mean what you say, again, it requires integrity, consistency, humility, and sacrifice. Those are the 4 things. That's what Rosa Parks had. That's what Dr. King had. That's what the civil rights people had when they boycotted. They completely unplugged from those oppressive regimes that they felt held them down and disenfranchised them. They didn't compromise with them. Like I said, Rosa didn't get on the bus just a couple days a week. They completely unplugged and they carpooled each other. They banded together. Maybe we should do that. Maybe I'll study and research and I'll see how we could do that. Maybe that's probably already in the works. We do have options, guys, but just realize you have to manage your expectations. It's going to take years to put those alternatives in place because until we can be independent of these app stores that are controlled by the big tech antitrust monopolies, guys, it doesn't matter if Trump comes out with his own platform. What good is it going to be if he can't host it on Apple or Google Store or Amazon? Right? I want you guys to like and share this video, especially if you're watching this on YouTube. I want you to go over to my YouTube channel to subscribe because I want you to read this full article that I'm going to read a closing quote from. This was from a lady who actually decided to unplug from all the big tech giants in her life, okay? And if you go to my YouTube channel, you can find it. Here's what she said. She said, a couple of months ago, I set out to answer the question of whether or not it's possible to avoid the tech giants. Over the course of 5 weeks, this was an experiment she did, I blocked Amazon, Facebook, Google, Microsoft, and Apple all at one time to find out how to live in the modern age without each one. To end my experiment, I'm going to see if I could survive blocking all 5 at once. Not only am I boycotting their products, but a technologist named Dhruv Mitra designed a special network tool that prevents my devices from communicating with the tech giants' servers, meaning that ads and analytics from Google won't work. Facebook can't track me across the internet, which again is something a lot of people complained about. And websites hosted by Amazon Web Services or AWS hypothetically won't load. I'm using a Linux laptop specially made by a company named Purism and a Nokia feature phone of which I am relearning the lost art of T through 9 texting. You guys remember what T9 texting is? Where if you want to type a word, you got to hit the button. Like, let's say you want to start a word that begins with C. You got to hit the 1 key, the ABC 3 times, like A, B, C. Wait a few seconds for the cursor to move over. D, E, F. It's called T9 texting. And again, if you want to boycott big tech, you got to be willing to go back to doing that. She continues, I don't think I could have done this cold turkey. I needed to wean myself off various services in the lead up like an alcoholic going through the 12 steps. The tech giants, while troubling in their communication, their accumulation of data, power, and societal control, do offer services that make our lives a hell of a lot easier. Earlier in the experiment, for example, I realized I don't know how to get in touch with people without the tech giants. Google, Apple, Facebook provide my rolling Rolodex. So again, if you guys want to read that whole article, go over to my YouTube channel and subscribe. You will see the link to that article in the description section of this video. I want to close by kind of recapping all the ways that the tech giants make our lives what they are today. And again, if you want to read this article, head over to my YouTube channel. I've got it there. But I want you guys to see something. Let me blow my page up here. Top 10 uses of the internet based on a recent survey. Now, this was in 1995, guys. Think about this. This was in 1995. This was 26 years ago. Can you believe that? Imagine if this article was updated. This was before social media. This was made during dial-up internet. Think about this. Think of how far technology has come. Think of how much more dependent we are on technology. Listen to what it says. Based on a recent survey of internet traffic, the 10 most popular uses of the internet in descending order of use are email, 85%, research, downloading files. This was before Napster and MP3s even. Discussion groups, interactive games, education and self-improvement, friendship and dating, electronic newspapers and magazines, job hunting and shopping. This was a 26-year-old list of when the internet first came out during the old dial-up days when Windows 95 was the rage of the world. And that's how dependent people were on early big tech. Imagine how much that dependency has grown in the last 26 years, and it's only grown stronger and stronger. So, folks, I know that, yeah, you've got mail. Remember AOL? You've got mail. So I wanted to make an honest video, guys. I just wanted to make an honest video about what I believe it would truly take if you're going to put your money where your mouth is and vote with your dollars. If you truly want to boycott big tech, that's what I believe you have to do. That's just my opinion. You may or may not agree with me. I just made a previous video about the honor that it was to be censored by Facebook. I'm even censored right now, guys. Even though I'm let out of Facebook jail, my videos aren't reaching the people they used to reach. No way. No way. But it is what it is. I am all for these alternative platforms. When they come out, when they start working well, I'm going to head over there. But again, there's lots of people on big tech that I still want to reach. There's lots of people on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and all these other places where we hate. There's certain people that are never going to go over to these alternative platforms. And I don't want to abandon those people. I want to stay on their radar. I want to stay in their thoughts. I want to continue to annoy and admonish them. And maybe I'll get a few converts out of the deal. Who knows? So I want to thank everybody for coming on the show today. That's right, Colin. Kodak 24 picks. They drop on Monday. You pick up on Thursday. That's right. Those were the days. So tune in on the next show, guys. I appreciate you coming on. I hope you have a great, blessed Sunday. Please like, share, and subscribe this video. And I will catch you on the next show.